خلوني أقدم ضيفي، لأنه هذا الضيف يجمع ما بين خبرة كبيرة جدا في مجال دراسات الشرق الأوسط، يعني أنا على المستوى الشخصي بعتبره أكتر حد في أمريكا بيفهمنا، وعلى المستوى الثاني دوره كمان في العاصمة واشنطن بأنه بيقدم اقتراحات مشهورة بيلفت نظرهم لبعض الأمور اللي هناك، وبالتالي هو أحسن حد أنا ممكن أثق في رأيه وبنقل لحضراتكم هذه الثقة عن أمريكا وما تريد أمريكا من الشرق الأوسط. يسعدني أن يكون معي جون ألترمان، هو سينيور فايس بريزيدنت لمركز دراسات ثينك تانك كبيرة جدا في أمريكا اسمها CSIS. يسعدني أنه هو يكون معايا، فببدأ بأني أقول له Welcome to our show, John.
Thank you very much, and thank you for that very kind introduction.
John, let me start by asking this simple question that actually, if you talk to many Arabs, they're going to ask you, what is Trump's plan for the Middle East?
There's no Trump plan for the Middle East. There's a Trump instinct toward the Middle East. There's a Trump initiative, which is this conflict has been frozen for too long by people thinking too narrowly about what solutions look like. And the first thing you do is you shake it up. And that will create opportunities. We'll see what the opportunities are. We'll see what we'll pursue. In some ways, it's a little bit like Vision 2030 in Saudi Arabia. The point of Vision 2030, as very senior people at the center of Vision 2030 explained to me, even if they achieve a minority of what they're trying to do, by shaking up a system that needed shaking up, positive things will happen. I think Trump hasn't thought about what the negative things might be. He doesn't have a destination he's trying to go to. The first thing is we have been thinking about this in his mind much too narrowly, not nearly creatively enough. And so let's shake everything up. Pieces will move, pieces will fall, and then we'll see what we have.
Would it be something like constructive ambiguity, case, but without sending troops? Constructive ideas?
No, I think there are some interesting ideas. It seems to me that there are some premises that are incorrect. He has made some assumptions that I think are not well grounded. I think what he does has impacts that they haven't considered in both the Israeli political spectrum, the Palestinian political spectrum, the Arab political spectrum. This was not created by a lot of people. The way the US government often approaches big problems is you get lots of people and they start working small and they come together, and then at some point you start thinking about what are the second order and third order consequences, and you try to have judgments about where will you be not in a week, where might you be in 6 months, a year, 2 years from now. That's the way the US government has often done things. I think the Trump view is that doesn't lead to creative thinking. It leads to groupthink. It leads to people ending up unable to move very far from where they are. You know, in some ways, it comes out of two life experiences the president had. One is as a real estate developer, which requires, as you know from Egypt, real estate development requires a remarkable imagination.
Right.
To look at a piece of sand and say, this is going to be a resort. Dubai is an example of it. Who could have imagined it? And so I think he brings some of that. He brings marketing, because after all, where the president was actually most successful was not as a real estate developer, it was as an entertainer playing somebody who used to be successful at real estate development, which he wasn't exactly, but he understood how to connect to audiences, he understood how to get people excited. So I think it's those two experiences that lead him to think, no, by thinking linearly, by thinking narrowly, that's going to give you tunnel vision. And what you need to do is you need to expand the possibilities. The challenge is that sometimes bad things happen. And if you're doing real estate development and you have a project that doesn't work out, you just lose some money. You start dealing in foreign affairs, people start dying, you start having wars, things can go really, really much worse than in real estate, much worse than if your show is canceled.
Sure. Let me give you maybe a premise or some kind of. We see him as adopting the Netanyahu agenda or the far right Israeli agenda more than trying to solve the problem. This is not a solution. This is another problem called Trump now.
To my mind, that assumes that Trump knows where he's trying to go. And I'm not sure he knows where he's trying to go. I think he is sympathetic to a lot of Netanyahu's premises. I think he's sympathetic to a lot of people's premises, and he doesn't feel like you have to reach a single conclusion about everything. But I think the difference is, I think Netanyahu, while very political, does have an end state he's trying to reach. I don't think Trump has an end state. I think Trump has a set of instincts, and the first instinct is throw the other person off balance.
Okay.
I think it's just he wants to throw people off balance. He's thrown the U.S. government off balance. He's thrown allies off balance.
Right.
The first step in his mind in a negotiation is you get advantage by throwing the other side off balance, and that's what he's done in the first 3 weeks.
Do you think that eventually he is going to be adamant about displacing Gaza people?
No.
Oh, really?
No, I think it's all negotiable.
Okay. But you think that he succeeded in making it as if he is the maestro of how to reshape the Middle East, not the people of the region?
He's not the maestro.
Oh, really?
He's an agitator. He's a catalyst for different thinking. I think the reality is everybody in the Middle East wants to talk to him. Hamas wants to talk to him. The Houthis want to talk to him. The Iranians want to talk to him, in addition to all his allies. Everybody wants to talk to him. I think that's the goal, is you start having things move around. You create openings. You create complementarities that nobody has seen before. You know, when I talk to friends who have been diplomats for decades, and one of the interesting things about diplomats is, okay, where do you want to be in 5 years? And what's the step now? And what's the step in 6 months? And right? And they're thinking 5, 6, 7 steps out. I think Trump is improvising. And the thing he is committed to is his method, not the outcome.
Okay, good. Iran. Are we going to see, that's the big question in the Middle East, are we going to see an actual, factual, bloody conflict between Iran and the US, or war is off his agenda?
I think war with the United States is very unlikely. I think Trump feels very strongly about not getting sucked into a war, not getting sucked into another war in the Middle East. In many ways, he and his base and a lot of his worldview is about what a mistake Iraq and Afghanistan were, because they took decades and they didn't deliver the promised outcomes, not after 1 year, not after 5 years, not after 10 years. There's a different question as to whether Israel attacks Iran and to what effect and what role the US has in that. I have a harder time reading that. To my mind, Netanyahu has benefited. All of the major gambles he took over the last 9 months, I think in his mind, have paid off, whether it's refusing to evacuate the Philadelphia corridor, whether it's turning down 2 Biden peace initiatives where the president really tried to put the screws on, whether it's assassinating Fuad Shukr, Ismail Haniyeh, Hassan Nasrallah, on and on and on. Netanyahu traditionally has been quite risk averse. And I think in the last 9 months, he's not been risk averse. And I think that his judgment is that the risks have been calculated and paid off. Iran tried to attack Israel twice, unsuccessfully, in what was really an unprecedented escalation of Israeli-Iranian tensions. Israel was able to attack and take out a lot of Iran's air defenses in October. So I think it's not unlikely that Israel attacks
Might.
Iran. One question is, what does the U.S. do, if anything?
Okay.
What do the Iranians do? Do the Iranians then double down on a nuclear program, and does that actually accelerate the Iranians having a nuclear bomb rather than slow it down? And where is Ali Khamenei and all of this and leadership succession in Iran? To me, the Iran question, where Iran will be in 1 year's time, 2 years' time, there's great uncertainty. I think Netanyahu has a set of instincts. I'm not sure Trump shares them. And I think that if Netanyahu drags the United States into something that President Trump doesn't want to be in, I think that will not necessarily play to Mr. Netanyahu's interests.
John, let me thank you very much. Really appreciate it. And I would say something about what he said. Number one, these are words of wisdom from my perspective to understanding Trump's mentality. Okay, bila mugamla wa bila mubalaga. No, he said some keywords. Number one, he has no plan. Trump has no plan, but he has an initiative. He does not want to think narrowly or tunnel thinking. He wants to spread thoughts and ideas and see what the reaction would be. He is not going to force us per se, but he wants to negotiate with us, but on a different agenda. He's not committed to a result. He is committed to a method, his technique based on marketing and like real estate development and so on. I think we need to understand Trump not in the way that we got it in the past, for the past few weeks, very emotional. No, this is, I would say, wise reading, calm reading for the man's way of thinking. Thanks, John, again.
Thank you,
Thank you
Martins.
very much.